Welcome to the 100th episode of the Fantasy Fiends podcast. No, I'm not trying to give a nasty BJ.
Dude, you realize that for us, you're doing it backwards, right? Like, there you go. Because your mirrored screen. There you go. Now you're doing it right. Before it was welcome to the first episode of the Fantasy Fiends podcast.
Unless it was binary.
So this is the 100th episode of the Fantasy Fiends podcast. I actually had to go buy a mic to get this to work, and I still don't have it working, so there's $30 down the drain. No, Target will be getting this shit back. And my name is, I about forgot my name. My name is Stevie Player, and today I'm here with, obviously, my co-presenter, Andy Peliquin, and we are honored to have JC Kang, who we've been wanting for a very long time. And you may know him as the Wing Chun guy. And already, I think I've been talking to him for 30 minutes, but it felt like 30 seconds. And this podcast, guys, we have an amazing topic for you. It is STDs. That's right. JC Kang is the professional. No. I probably should have
giving them and receiving.
Yeah. He is the gigolo of indie publishing, JC Kang. No, this is gonna be fun. This is gonna be a fun podcast.
This has already gone clearly off the rails.
Yes. Well, I'm gonna let y'all take over real quick because I'm going to fix my mic.
Mic is
I
fine.
just had to make that weird. It's fine. It sounds good.
Yeah, you're good. Just
okay. I'll be right back though.
All right. Well,
So
John
usually or give somebody an STD, one or the other.
Exactly. That's what he was just talking about, moving in with his girlfriend. So you never know. We usually like to start the podcast with our guests telling us a little bit about themselves and their book. So why don't you do that?
Oh, okay. Well, since I am on my laptop and I am close to my bookshelf, I will bring this over so you can look at some of my books, kind of see if I can focus it a little bit here. This is the first one in the Dragon Song Saga. Considering it very well.
It's a beautiful cover. It's one of my favorites.
Especially in mirror image, it looks really good. So that's Song of Direction. That's book 1 of the Dragon Song Saga. This is Orchestra of Treacheries. It's book 2.
Nice.
Dances of Deception is book 3. This wonderful artwork was done by Bob Kell, who is just an amazing artist. And this is book 4, which is Symphony of Fates.
Man, those covers, I love the colors. They're so vibrant.
And I'm trying to find... can't find it. You can see all my other books here, my various mini books, but I'm trying to find the book 1, the other book 1, which is called Masters of Deception. It's kind of messy over in this corner, so I don't want to show you that. So this is Masters of Deception. This cover was done by Amalia, who is just mind-blowingly good. And finally, in this box here, I have all these boxes. My wife probably is quite sick of all the books flying around here. And you can see my neck too. I know that's a pretty good shot.
It's a great shot.
And there went the mouse.
Wow, that's the big boy.
This is the very big boy. This is like Hold the Door, Hodor type of the full Dragon Song Saga in hardback form.
Wow.
There are a handful of them out in the world. So anyway, those are my main books. And I actually just started releasing a serial as well. Did I just drop the connection or can you still see me?
No, yeah, we're good.
Okay, I just totally messed up my computer here. Just released the second part of a novella, which happens, they all take place in the same world. And so they're all coming to fruition.
And so I remember a couple of the characters, they felt very Asian and Japanese inspired, but then the seer from Masters of Deception, on the cover, he looks more Indian.
So that's actually not the seer.
Okay.
He is what would be called a paladin, which is kind of like
Right.
a Jedi Knight in my world.
Of course.
He is more East Asian, so Indian, Pakistani kind. The seer, the diviner, is more Mediterranean. It's kind of, the setting is Rome, some Renaissance Rome. So I guess he would be a Roman.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very
so
cool.
in my world, I kind of like to have a mix of different cultures. And it's partially based upon when I was younger, addicted to the Civilization video game. And I like the idea that you had all these different countries that weren't historically close together. But
Civilization 2.
Civilization 2 is my favorite. Still, I don't play it anymore just because I would waste way too much time doing it.
I wasted so many hours on that game too. It's just awesome.
One of the things I like to do in my world building was that, okay, I will put China close to, say, Estonia, but culturally, how would they influence each other? So they weren't literally close together in our own history, but how would they influence each other technologically, culturally? And so they aren't exact cultures as we all have in our own history, but they are based on them.
I like that. Now, the question that I find myself asking after that is, so, cultures are shaped by proximity to each other and they influence each other in return. So, like, would an Estonian culture have existed in proximity to a Chinese culture as opposed to the Chinese culture and its similarities or differences to Mongolian or Indian, the ancient Indian Empire? Like those, I feel like those were shaped by each other and shaped each other in return. Yes. So could an Estonian culture even have existed if it was so close to China?
That's very speculative. The Mongols went pretty far away. They took Chinese culture to a lot of different places. So who knows?
That's true.
Yeah,
that's true.
They say that cool. The person who has the most descendants in this world is Genghis Khan.
It's something like 1 in 4 people is descended from Genghis Khan or something like that.
Yeah, it's almost like West Virginia. So, sorry to all the West Virginians watching.
all of them. I'm pretty sure everybody on this podcast is from not West Virginia.
Excellent.
Very cool. Now, Stevie likes to do this thing where he says what's something cool that happened to you this week? And of course, we didn't prepare you for it, so we're totally putting you on the spot. What's something cool that's happened to you in the last week or two?
Whew, that's totally on the spot. But I think part of it comes with my writing. I've been kind of in a slump for the last 4 years, maybe doing 500 words a day at most. But in the last 3 days, I've probably put out 9,000, 12,000 words in three days. So that's what's exciting with me.
That is very, very cool.
Actually, I take it back. I went to GalaxyCon, which I'm not really a convention goer, but I went to GalaxyCon on Saturday. I got to take a picture with Cobra Kai Karate Kid's bully, Johnny.
Yeah.
And I got to meet Daniel-san, Ralph Macchio. So I got to meet them, shake their hands. I also got to meet Data, Brent Spinner, and Worf, Michael Dorn. So yeah, that's what's kind of the coolest part of my week, now that I think about it.
That's awesome. That's a really awesome week. I love going to conventions. I met some really awesome people at conventions. They're so much fun for me. Even if I don't meet awesome people, it's just so fun to be around people who get it. Like here in my house, my family is very normal. They're very respectable and self-respecting. Exactly. But it's so nice to get together with people that just understand, geek, like who don't say, "Oh, we're watching Game of Thrones again," or they just understand what it means to love.
That's totally mainstream, man. That's totally mainstream now. You can't use that as a comparison. But
my wife still says that we're watching Game of Thrones again.
Time for a divorce, man.
We can hear you, Stevie. We cannot hear you now. Okay.
Testing.
We can hear you now.
Nice. Okay, I'm back.
So what's something cool that happened to you, Stevie, in the last week or 10 days?
Dude, so much has happened. We already talked about Podium. I just adopted a brand new alien, and I'll explain that in a minute. Come here. Hold on. Let me get him. He's a piece of shit. Hold on.
I've got a feeling this is going to be weird.
Well, my dog was responding to Stevie's saying, "Come here," and he's like over my feet right now. So
that's funny. That's something actually that I wrote into one of my characters, my little fox creature. He loves just curling up at the feet, like around the feet of the people who are there with him. It's just this weird little quirk. I've never had a dog before, so I don't know where that came from. It's just like a fun little thing. Yeah. I've got kids, so that's that makes up for it.
Okay, I'm back. Had to wrangle him and put his collar on because he gets it off. Oh, no, don't move it.
It's a cat.
It's Roswell the alien cat. Look at those eyes. And that Bailey. What do you think?
He's like, I don't like this.
Yeah, he doesn't look very pleased.
Oh, he's my riding buddy. And by riding buddy, I mean he gets in the way of everything. He's a kitten, but he's already bigger than an adult cat. And he's got these huge paws. And I swear, I think he's half Siamese. We found him in a gutter on the 3rd floor, and we just called to him, and he just ran down to us. And I was like, I guess this is our cat now. So, and I love him. And usually, I've found many cats that I've taken to no-kill shelters, or I found homes for them. I did not want to give this one away. I don't know why. I was just in love with this cat. And I'm allergic to cats. So...
So you would now single-handedly be supporting whatever manufacturer makes, Claritin or whatever.
Exactly. I take Allegra, but yeah, I would. They should sponsor me and just send me stuff. Send me a bunch of shit. But yeah, that's my cool thing. Oh, and I do have something cool. The Jigsaw Blade is a bestseller in Arthurian fantasy.
Woo-hoo!
So yeah, it was #1 in teen and young fiction, teen and young adult historical fiction, and at one point creatures and dragons or whatever, and now it's Arthurian. So I'm super excited about that. It's my first bestseller tag.
That is so cool. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I was like, took a bunch of screenshots, like proof. This is proof. Lots of good reviews coming in. So yeah, that's my cool news. I got me a pussy and I got me a best-selling tag.
Well done.
Thank you. And
Well,
we already went through all the cool things for JC, for John.
Yeah. Now it's my turn.
Let's hear it.
You know, I had 2 cool things, but I can't remember one. I know that one of them is Queen of the Night Guild is a finalist for the Roni Award, which comes out later this year. Yeah, super excited. I just found out about it yesterday.
The cover of the book? Because last year was the cover, right?
Yeah, Thief of the Night Guild was up for the book, and Different Not Damaged was up for the cover. This year, it's just Queen of the Night Guild for the book.
Nice. Very nice. Congratulations.
That's, cool.
That's already a cool thing because you can say you're a finalist, you know?
I won the award with what is now Darkblade Outcast a couple years ago. But I was hoping, I love Alana's story so much, I was hoping she would win something. So we'll see what happens. And my second, I had something really awesome. I mean, I started on the final book of the Silent Champions on Monday.
Final book.
Well, the final book in the main series. This is going to be the 6th book that I've got to write. That's sort of a companion novel. But I started the 4th and final book of the main series. That might have been it. I don't know. Something awesome happened. I'll remember it later.
Is this going to be 300,000 words?
I hope not. I really hope not. I'm shooting for like 180 to 200 at most because it took me.
Wait, per book?
That's how long. The last one was 280,000 words. 280.
That's KU gold.
I know.
But it's a problem if I want to print it in paperback. Like I might not be able to do it in paperback. I might have to do 2 volumes, volume 1 and volume 2, in order to print it because it's just
hardback. So yeah, my Dragon Song Saga is 550,000 and it fits in the hardback. I mean, it's not easy to read, but because it's so heavy. But hey, you could do it.
That would be pretty cool. But yeah, I'm hoping this one comes in a little shorter, just because I don't have that. That took 10 weeks to write that 280,000 word monster, and I was just stressed the whole time. It's like, all right, this story just keeps getting longer and longer and longer. Hopefully, this one doesn't do that on me again.
Dude, that's crazy. Yeah, I actually was talking to the podium lady, and she says it's better for the books to get shorter. Or wait, no,
longer. They want longer.
Yeah, to get longer. But I think by the 5th book, no one's gonna care if it's 100,000 less than 300. Wait, the last one was 250, right? Or 275?
It was 220.
220. Okay, so yeah, 180 is not gonna be a problem at all.
Yeah, no, the first book was 110.
But knowing you, it'll probably still go up.
The truth is that so right now they're going on this suicide mission, right? And it's chapter 10, and they haven't even started, gearing up for it. Like they just got where they needed to go to gear up. Because there's all the character stuff, and they have new people joining their team, and there's the fallout from the previous book, and there's the moment, they're going on a suicide run, so they've got to sort of say goodbye to their families, all these emotional things. So there's all that goes into the whole before we go kick some ass thing. So, but hopefully once they actually get on the road, it's going to be a much faster book.
Nice, man. Nice. So awesome. We all three had some amazing news today. I don't think there's anything else anything else to bring up. So do you want to go ahead and go into the topic?
Absolutely. I think it's one of my favorite topics because there's really no answer to it when it comes down to it, but it's fun to talk about anyway. Like, so the question is, which martial art would win? Which would be the best? Now we're going to strip down armor. We're going to strip down everything. A guy to his bare essentials. You know, we're not talking hyper speedy.
Do we have underwear on?
You have clothes, Stevie.
Do I need to have clothes on? So
we're talking someone who is, let's say, average strength, average speed, average reflexes. You know, we're not talking Bruce Lee. We're not talking the Mountain or the Rock kind of guy. We're just talking about the average guy. Which martial art would win in a battle against like if he faced every single other martial art on the planet in a one-on-one fight? Could there be one that...
Love, Andy.
That's not a martial art, Stevie.
It can be. You just hug them to death.
Weaponizing love. You know, John, you are a bit more of an expert on this than either of us, so why don't you weigh in a bit on, let's say, the top 2 or 3 that you think have a really good shot at taking the gold?
Wing Chun, Wing Chun, Wing Chun. No.
Are you assuming I'm going to be a total homer and say it's Wing Chun?
Yes. Yeah. No, I already know you're not that kind of guy.
So, well, no, I mean, I as I was saying earlier, it's not, to me, it's never about styles fighting styles. It's about a person fighting another person. And in the grand scheme of things, it's always going to come down to experience and desire to win that fight. And so you could take someone who all he ever did was practice the Macarena and then did it against somebody and actually tried to make it functional. And maybe he might work a lot better than somebody who does like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So it's all about, there's some guy who maybe all he ever does is, goof off on the mat. And so it's all about the individual more than it is about the style itself. Now, all things being even, say, for example, you had someone with equal willpower, equal size, equal everything. Like that ever happens, right?
Yeah.
But say, for example, we had that. I would give Western boxing number 1.
Really?
Western boxing?
Definitely. If you look at fights throughout, like some of these fights that have gone on in the past, like boxing versus this, it's usually boxing that wins. And the main thing is that these people are training day in, day out to hit and to get hit. When I was growing up, you would have, for example, the karate or taekwondo, or more of the karate tournaments, where they were point fighting. You hit somebody, you land the hit, break.
Yep.
Boxing, you hit, you keep hitting. You get hit, you keep hitting. So I really give boxing a huge thumbs up there.
Interesting.
I think you also have to take into account terrain. Okay, so say, for example, if you're in a padded surface, then maybe the grappler will have a good advantage, like somebody who does Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu or Sambo. But if it's, say, for example, on asphalt with broken glass on it, do you really want to take someone to the ground? Do you want to go to the ground?
I would be a judo guy in that instance. You can just throw them on the ground.
But if you went down to the ground with them, then what happens, right? What if they hold on?
You effed up.
But now, take boxing. A boxer doesn't really train their legs. So let's say an MMA fighter, he just takes those knee shots and those leg shots and just destroys the guy's lower body. And I trained MMA, Hapkido, karate, taekwondo, and kung fu. So I'm not an expert in any of them.
Stevie decided he's out of this conversation.
Yeah,
no, he's back.
Hold on.
It was the cat probably doing something. Anyways, so I saw.
This is I think a big misconception with boxers, and I think a lot of people go into it with the misconception that boxers are only upper body, but they have great footwork. Excellent.
No, they definitely do have great footwork, but I'm saying like for example with MMA, you've got the lower body kicks and things like that just can destroy someone's knee or break their shins, or like taking those hits on the thigh. They can really sap your, and just like a body shot, taking a body shot.
So have you ever watched M. Bison versus Sagat?
I have not.
Street Fighter. Okay, never mind then. Won't get the reference. I don't know. So MMA, are you going to call that a style?
I was thinking I'm thinking more of the, or at least for the kick specifically, the Muay Thai style of kicks, like that one where you turn it down and it's just like it does that devastating kick. And I know that has not knocked me out of the fight, but like I couldn't continue pursuing the guy because my knee was, it had come within an inch of shattering or something. So I couldn't throw those hard punches because of that. And now an MMA fighter who has, like let's say there's someone who's worked on both their upper and lower body, I feel like they might have an advantage. They're not just taking those punches all day long, but they've punched enough to have at least say 50 to 75% of a boxer's upper body conditioning, and then adding in the lower body hits, to the legs and the knees and stuff, breaking the shins, stamping on the foot, things like that. I feel like that would take down boxers in a way that boxers aren't prepared to combat.
And once again, I think it comes down to preparation. So what if the boxer does have buddies who do MMA or do Muay Thai and works against it? And I think that ultimately it comes down to practice and how much you practice against it. And I'll go back to the martial art I learned, which is Wing Chun. And back in, like, I guess the 1970s, 1980s, there was always this idea that you could just go and charge in on somebody and throw these rapid fire punches and keep them off balance. And I think a lot of us through the 90s had this idea that that's what would work. Me personally, I went and worked out with some friends who boxed, and I got my butt handed to me. So I decided I had to learn how to box as well, just if anything to know what they are doing. And later I got taken to the ground. It's like, okay, well, I have to learn a little bit of, ground fighting as well. So I think it ultimately comes down to who you are practicing against. And if you're honestly challenging yourself. I mean, I think oftentimes if you walk into, say, martial arts school, they say, well, here's a defense against a tight hook or a hook. Okay, you'll go to YouTube and see this is how a Wing Chun person would stop a hook.
Yeah.
And the thing is that what you see in the video, it's not a hook. It's basically a haymaker. Number two, it's a lead haymaker, which is, oftentimes boxing, the hook is coming in combination.
Yeah.
And so oftentimes people are approaching these things with very unrealistic expectations. So I think ultimately it's when you get in the ring against someone who is not holding back, or at least not, they're not really trying to hurt you. There is a spirit of competition and not actually trying to hurt somebody, but you're going against someone who really practices that martial art. Then you have a chance of saying, okay, this is how I can make mine better. And that's for me. I mean, I still get hit by boxing hooks. I get hit by boxing hooks a lot. But at the same time, I feel like I could handle it better than people who have never actually gotten in the ring against someone who throws a real hook.
Yeah, no, definitely. There really is no one answer to this. It's why it's the age-old question, but it's kind of a fun discussion to have. Your two movies sprang to mind. Number one, the latest Ip Man. Is that Wing Chun that he does?
Latest Ip Man. So are we talking about, which one are we talking about?
The one where he boxes he faces Mike Tyson.
So where he fight? Okay, so the Ip Man trilogy. I guess it's becoming the fourth movie.
Yeah.
I'd say that is the most authentic Wing Chun that you will see in a movie. But the main thing is that movies, you're looking for choreography and looking for things that are visually interesting, and Wing Chun doesn't lend itself to that. So I think to some degree you do see the spirit of Wing Chun, but not necessarily Wing Chun.
Of course, there's no way to have full accuracy and make it look pretty.
And at the same time, Wing Chun is a very personalized martial art. What I like to say about it is it's not a system of techniques, but a system of ideas and a system of very simple motions that are put together by those ideas. And so the way that I express my Wing Chun might be different from the way, say, my small daughter would express Wing Chun. And then once again comes down to experience.
Right. Now, but then that fight where he faced off against Mike Tyson, he was throwing all kinds of hits and kicks and stuff, and Mike Tyson shrugged them off for the most part. And at the end, it felt like he would have lost, or it would have been a pretty even battle against Mike Tyson, the boxer, or whatever character Mike Tyson was playing in his boxing style. Would you say that that's a fairly accurate, even if the moves aren't?
So Mike Tyson. We're talking about Mike Tyson here. If that guy wanted to fight me, I'm out of here, man.
No, but I'm saying the Ip Man character, sort of the character stats that he had versus whatever character Mike Tyson was playing in the movie, his character stats in that confrontation. Do you think the Ip Man could have won, or the character that Mike Tyson was playing?
Well, with his character stats, maybe. I mean, it's the movie is stacked in Ip Man's favor there. So, say once again, average Wing Chun person versus average boxer, I would give the boxer the I tip my hat to him
Okay.
most likely, just
Okay.
because of the way boxers train. So.
Have you seen the movie Fearless? I don't remember what the Chinese name is. It's Jet Li. It's
Yes.
an older one. It's where he faces off against all the different styles.
You're
There's
making me feel really old because Fearless to me is a sort of a not old Jet Li movie, but yeah.
No,
Fearless,
it's definitely not an old Jet Li movie, but it's an
right.
older one because I think it's 2002, around the
Something
time
like
of Hero and all those. I loved those movies.
Yeah.
And
So that's a Huo Yuanjia, and then he is fighting against basically. I think there is a boxer, there is a spearman, and there's the Japanese guy.
yeah,
And I think that
the tri-bladed staff.
I don't think they had. It was a three-sectional staff that he was
That's the one,
using.
three-sectional
It
staff.
didn't have blades to it.
Yeah, that's the one. That's the one I was thinking. I love that because it really did showcase the different styles in a way that I hadn't seen before in many of these martial arts movies. I don't think I watched many of the Bruce Lee ones. So Jet Li was kind of my introduction to them, to the movies, but the ones that I'd seen before, it was very much the Chinese character versus the Chinese character. Whether it was the different dynasty or the two armies facing off, there were enough similarities between them that the styles weren't radically different. Whereas facing a French pikeman like he does in Fearless, or against the boxer, or against the samurai, or against these different things, it was really an interesting dynamic to see that martial art face off against something so different. And like you said, how he adapted his style to accommodate this new technique.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
we said no weapons, right?
Well, we can talk about weapons now if we want.
Okay, so my background is 5 years in Jeet Kune Do. That was the longest I ever trained, and I trained in that 3 times a week because I just fell in love with that art. I love the idea of mixing everything together, and I really enjoyed Silat, Kali, Wing Chun, and I hated grappling. I absolutely hated grappling because I felt like whoever was stronger won, no matter what technique I used, which is not true, but I'm just not a good grappler. If I were going to choose a martial art, I would cheat and say Kali because I have 2 big sticks I can beat them with and choke them out with if I wanted to. But if I wasn't saying that.
Is Kali the Philippine one?
Yeah, so it's is it Filipino? Yeah, I believe it's Filipino stick
Filipino.
fighting.
So there's Kali, Eskrima, Sarada.
Eskrima, that's the one.
Arnis, they're all different names for various families, and there are like hundreds of families of the Filipino stick fighting. And I've practiced a 2-stick system and a 1-stick system, one called Malintawa. I stink at it, and the other called Doce Perez, which is I also stink at it. But I try to learn the basics of it, and it is so much fun. The stick fighting stuff.
It is a ton of fun. And I was gonna say, why did you choose Western boxing over Silat? I'm just curious.
I have not had a lot of exposure to Silat to say one way or the other.
But I haven't really either. But
mm-hmm.
I really enjoyed it though. But it was very difficult with the techniques. It was one of the more difficult things that we learned. But as for so we talked about this a little bit before the podcast. I would say the best martial art would be the one that the practitioner was built for. So Wing Chun, you can be a smaller guy and still be effective, right?
All things being even, once again, hard to say. It comes down to how hard you train.
Wing Chun is a trapping art, right?
That's what it's known for, is the sticking hands and trapping, but it doesn't necessarily have to be that way. I mean, the main idea of Wing Chun is to hit the center of the body. And so if someone's hand happens to get in the way, you want to clear that out of the way. And that's where the trapping comes into play. But it's the idea that it's a trapping martial art per se it's kind of trapping is in it, but it is not necessarily a trapping martial art.
It's ironic that we bring this up because I was showing my mom some Wing Chun yesterday, actually, and I haven't practiced. I mean, I say Wing Chun, it's probably an insult to you because, I mean, I am by no means anywhere near probably novice. And she asked me, because I was showing her some tapping moves, she said, is this realistic for a female? And it kind of threw me off guard. So I was like, I would love to see my mom try and trap me right now and hurt me with Wing Chun. So what do you think about that?
So Wing Chun, the way I teach it, not necessarily the way I learned it, but the way I teach it is very much about body structure and lining things up correctly. And so it's maximizing your potential. So a smaller person is able to generate more power because they are aligning their joints correctly. And what I'm saying is that, say, for example, you did through a karate or a boxing. This is a jab, but say for
I
example,
love how
I
you
cross.
open the fist before you closed it.
Bad habit on my a Wing Chun
No,
habit
I
on my
like
part.
that. No, I like that. That's how we learned it in Jeet Kune Do. Open and then close right at the finish.
That's what Bruce Lee said in the Dao Jeet Kune Do, is a snap at the very end. Tighten your fist with a snap. But the main thing is right now, this is a reverse punch. I'm going to turn so you can see this, reverse punch or a cross, and see how my shoulder is up. And so it's a different body alignment than Wing Chun, where your elbow is down and your shoulder is down. And so what ends up happening is that you can anchor your body center of gravity this way as opposed to this way. But that's because Wing Chun's philosophy is to have both weapons, that is both hand weapons, equally accessible. And so you don't get the torque of the body like you would out of, say, boxing or karate or taekwondo.
Would you
So
say
the structure is meant for it.
Would you say that's the reason why Bruce Lee said make your most powerful hand in front rather than back? It sounds like it'd be a Wing Chun thing, because I was like, wait, I remember, because Taekwondo and stuff, karate, your right hand's in the back because that's your power punch. Jeet Kune Do, you have it in the front.
Yeah, Wing Chun's equal opportunity. The idea is it's a very different sort of system because, say, for example, boxing, or you have a left, like a slight 45-degree left face if you're doing standard versus southpaw. Wing Chun, you line up squarely so that both of your hands can equally reach. And some people would say, oh, you're opening your body structure. But
That's a
what we end
karate
up
guy
doing
would
is,
say that.
yeah, what we end up doing this way is that our spine is straight. And so our structure becomes a passive conduit to the ground. So.
Well, do you get better like mobility, better like easier footwork that way?
Compared to like boxing footwork, no. I have to give boxing footwork like pretty high kudos, but you do get plenty of lateral and forward and backward footwork that way.
Okay.
And you're stationed closer to the ground, correct? So you actually do that. So when I practiced it for a very brief time, you shifted your feet in where you had that weird knee locking thing. Do you do that in a fight, or do you just have normal horse stance when you fight?
You can be in whatever stance you want. The idea with the training where you put your toes in is to get the idea of adducting your hip flexors. And so what ends up happening is that you are learning to connect your upper and lower body together. But then when you're actually making contact, before contact, you can stand however you want. But then at moment of impact, you want this idea that your body is aligned correctly so that you can transfer the force correctly.
So real quick, what do we all think about Aikido? Is it even, Aikido is such a weird subject for me, because the idea is to protect the assailant and to reduce bodily harm to him. And as a Jeet Kune Do guy, as a guy who actually wants to try Krav Maga, Judo, that's a very hard concept for me to get behind. And I did a lot of research on Aikido, and even the people who do Aikido say it's not the most street effective martial art.
Well, I think you have to look at the family of Aikido, because, Aikido, the creator of the system, he came from this system called Daitoryu. His name is, we call him O-sensei. And he practiced Aikido throughout his life. And as he moved along, he had different life lessons that informed how he did Aikido. So later in his life, he practiced out of this place called Iwama in Japan. Actually, I used to live only like half an hour away from there.
Whoa.
Never went to the school, which I wish I had. And so when he was doing Iwama, he was informed with his Aikido one way, versus later as earlier he might have a different style. And then, of course, after he passed on, his students added their own uniqueness to it. So say, for example, there is Tomiki Aikido, which Steven Seagal, I believe, learned. It's a very aggressive style. And then the Yoshin Kaikan, with those people are freaking nuts. So.
What about catching the hand, though? Don't you have to catch it? I just feel like that it becomes a gamble almost if you don't catch the hand, because when you watch it on YouTube and stuff, it's choreographed. And Steven Seagal, he knows where their hand's going because you're fighting multiple assailants, and I don't know, it just seems very choreographed to me. But I'm very ignorant when it comes to Aikido, so maybe you know more than me.
Well, I think once again it comes down to who is training and what they want to do with it. And for example, I was at the school one time, an Aikido school, and I saw the people they're doing what's called the randori, which is they have a bunch of people who are surrounding you, coming in one at a time. They're called ukemi. And it was very slow motion. There was no intention behind the attack. And then later, maybe a couple years later, there was this one person visiting from a different school. And when he was both feeding and receiving, there was a very different intention to it. So I think once again, it comes down to the school you train in, the philosophy that they approach with, and also their own, each individual's mental set. And so I think there are a lot of ways to make Aikido work, but you have to be honest with yourself and try to go out there and do it. So
has anyone here tried Bujinkan Ninjutsu? I did 2 weeks of that, and that was so for me. I always, whenever I go to do the free trial of the martial art, it's not to check out the martial art, it's actually the instructor. Because I had a bad time with karate and taekwondo. You know, the master's like, or the sensei or the sifu, whatever, they wanted you to compete. And that was all they wanted, and they wanted to be the best, and they wanted trophies for their window so to attract more people. I detest that. I don't like that at all. And Bujinkan was the most different thing I've ever tried. It was such a cocky. Of course, this is not my view on Bujinkan. It was the guy, and I never asked him this, but I feel like if I'd asked him what's the best martial art, he'd be like Bujinkan, obviously, because you would.
Every martial arts school will tell you that. Almost every
I don't feel like
person
you would tell
believes
me
they
that,
are training the best martial art.
My Wing Chun instructor never told me that, and I feel like you would be the same. And my Jeet Kune Do guy.
Most Wing Chun teachers are very much Wing Chun is the best martial art. I don't know about now, but when I started training in 1995, and at the time, oh my gosh, there was so much
traditional mindset.
Well, so there was this idea, and there's still some schools like this that say, we can't really do our techniques, we can't really do them because we have to actually kill someone or really have to maim them. And this is what I like about MMA and also boxing is that they eschew this BS and say, hey, we're going to go out there and try. We're going to go out there and hit somebody with force. And it changes your mentality towards things. So I think the vast majority of Wing Chun people who never get into the ring or never even sparred with a friend who does a different style is going to get eaten alive.
Well, speaking of Chinese martial arts, I'm sure you've heard of the Shaolin monk who boxed. So he mixed his kung fu and his boxing, and you can go watch this. And with this, I don't know what Shaolin art it was, some Shaolin kung fu, and they would train hitting each other, kind of like you said, the boxers.
Iron body.
Take a hit. Mm-hmm. Iron body. So they would hang upside down by. I've even seen it where they do stuff with their nut sacks, which just kills me.
Pulling buses, yeah.
Yeah, it's freaking nuts what they can do. But they'll have their friends knock their head against a bell, or they punch really hard things, and they'll take punches to the stomach. They'll come up, hit them in the stomach, and then they go back into a crunch. Punch, punch, punch. Mm-hmm. Well, YouTube this guy. It's fascinating. Obviously, you can look up his defeats, and they're pretty brutal. But it's like the mixture of kung fu and boxing. How fascinating that is.
One of my kung fu brothers. Now he trained. So my teacher. I learned in Taiwan, and my teacher is the nephew of Grandmaster Yip Man, and so he drew a lot of people from all over the world. And one of my kung fu brothers, I've never actually met him in person, but we talk. His name is Paul Rackerman. And he has modified his Wing Chun with Western boxing. And so it's kind of fun to watch how he mixes. For example, going back to that hook, I saw this one where his student set up a hook and then used it as a means of pulling someone's hand out of the way in order to hit him with the other hand. So he was integrating the two. So it's totally doable.
I'm sorry. I was going to say, tell us about Mantis. Because that's a pressure point kung fu, right?
Not necessarily. So there are Northern Mantis, Southern Mantis, there's 7-star Mantis. There's a lot of different styles.
I've heard of those. It's so confusing.
And so some versions, like when I was living in Taiwan, I had a buddy who did 7-star, and 7-star was a lot like Wing Chun in terms of they were doing a lot of hand contact and what you would call trapping. And so he was doing all these patterns. I'm like, oh, that's pretty much what we're doing in Wing Chun too. So it really depends. And actually, I came from a Walloon Mantis school. I didn't do much there. I was a kid. I was like about 10 years old and was learning Tai Chi there. But I learned a little bit of Mantis there as well. But it's different from school to school. But pressure points you can put into any style. I mean, my day job is an acupuncturist, so I totally love.
Oh, so you're a Mantis in real life.
My wife might say so because of the shape of my face.
Oh, yeah, I can see it.
Now let's talk Muay Thai.
Muay Thai?
Muay Thai?
Love it.
Yeah. Where would you rate that?
We started with boxing, and then somehow we got off on I got sidetracked. But I would put Muay Thai a close second, especially the versions that have more boxing hands. So I put Muay Thai pretty high up there, probably boxing and Muay Thai.
Wait, Muay Thai with boxing hands? I've never. I did a little bit in Jeet Kune Do, actually a lot. We always focus on Muay Thai, but you can incorporate boxing into that
Yeah, totally. Where I
in the
so
art.
when I moved back from Taiwan, I was training partially with a school, local school, and their Muay Thai, their hands were pretty much boxing hands, Muay Thai feet.
Interesting.
That sounds a lot like the MMA style that I learned.
Yeah, that was Dutch style pad work. So yeah.
All right. What are your thoughts on iron shins then? That was probably the worst thing ever.
Iron shins?
Iron shins, yeah, where you what is it like a myth where the Muay Thai guys would hit bamboo trees?
Oh, totally true. Totally true.
It's true.
Totally true.
Crap. That would suck. Like
Yeah,
really
well,
bad.
when I was living in San Francisco, I used to work in the Chinese Culture Center of San Francisco, and there's this place called Portsmouth Square across the street from where the Chinese Culture Center was. And there was this jungle gym, and I didn't see this myself, but one of my students said there was always this Vietnamese guy who was going and just constantly knocking his arm against the freaking metal jungle gym. And people would always like laugh at him and just talk crap to him. But my student said one day somebody tried to pick a fight with him, and all he did was just hit him like that, and guy's gone.
Wow.
So, same concept, iron training.
That's really interesting. Now let's have some fun. Let's talk about the worst, like the least effective ones. Obviously, jazzercise takes the cake.
What?
Do not insult jazzercise.
Yeah.
Alan.
What about Taibo, whatever.
Taibo.
Taibo.
I mean,
That's
these aren't. They're more for the training like more the cardiovascular.
Yeah.
Do.
But are there any martial arts where you feel like that's just an absolute waste?
I think that you could get a benefit out of any martial art.
Ones that injure you, I would say, and that's always going to be down to the instructor, though. So I've had mostly. I would always leave an art if not saying I didn't like the instructor, but he was hurting me, and I know that sounds wussy, but I was getting hurt too bad. I was in Kung Fu 5 Animal for 2 years, where I studied Tiger Form before moving to Tiger Crane in California. And it was the worst punch I've ever taken in my life. It was from a 350-pound man who played for the Baylor Bears. And he knocked me in the ear with a right hook. And then I hit the other side of my head on concrete. So we only trained on concrete. We did all of our rolls and all of our flips on concrete.
This is totally explaining what's up with Stevie. It was that one hit.
I have a head injury. And they had to slap me and put water on my face, right? And I went to the doctor. Well, the thing is, I had to sign a form, which I don't think to this day would have saved him. But I could breathe and I could inhale and exhale through my right ear by holding my nose. And instantly, I knew that I was training with the psychopath because he was like, "Get up, come on, you got to keep going, You got 2 more minutes." I'm like, "I'm done. I quit. I'm going home." And then my brother drove me home, and I never saw him again. So I always say it's the instructor that makes the worst martial art. I always say I've never been asked that, but
here's another good one. Krav Maga. Where would you rate that?
Yeah. Where would you rate that?
So if you are an Israeli commando training in life and death situations, I'd rate it pretty high. If you're in the United States, it really comes down to the school and the intensity of the training.
Is it true that it's like I've always said, if you had one person described to me like this: if you fall down and you see a rock, you grab that rock and you bash their head in with it. That's Krav Maga. So anything goes.
I remember. So this was back in maybe 2000. I think it was pretty much the year 2000. And one of my first students. This was when I was in Oakland, California. One of my first students came and he had this Krav Maga book. And he's like, "Here's their defense against grenade. Do you think it would work?" And I'm like, "I don't know." It's like, I've never had to deal with the grenade before, and I hope I never have to.
Yeah.
What did it say? Just eat it?
I didn't even bother to look. I was just like, he's like, "Would this work against a grenade?" And I was like, "I don't know."
Yeah, when's that ever going to be?
I'm supposed to know.
We're going to see like a grenade go into your screen. We're like, "Oh shit, you better read that."
That was just my mouse.
Yeah.
Here's another one. Tai Chi. So I watched Tai Chi Master, which was such a fun Jet Li movie. I believe it was Jet Li.
That is like the most amazing freaking movie ever. The Shaolin Temple part where they're fighting with the staffs and the staff formation.
The whole again, that was like a total wuxia movie because there's all the spinning stone ball and all of the petals and stuff like that.
That's not real?
No, it's not, Stevie. I'm sorry.
I thought when you get a black belt you can do
that. as a martial art, is Tai Chi useful? Is it like, obviously we're talking someone who is the master is going to be good at it, but as a style, does it have enough offensive and or defensive capabilities to be useful, or is it too, I don't know.
I think what we need to look at is the context in which Tai Chi developed. And the same thing with Wing Chun and every Chinese martial art is that they developed in China, and there was a certain mindset towards how combat worked in China. So Tai Chi back in, say, 1700, going against Northern style martial arts was probably quite effective. Nowadays, in 20th, are we in the 21st century or the 20th century? Anyway, and nowadays people are boxing, they're doing MMA. Can you make your Tai Chi work? It's once again about adapting. What I recommend, there was a man named Zheng Manqing, and Zheng Manqing was a practitioner of Yang style Tai Chi, and he was an utter badass. Later on, if you look at his forms, they look really funky. But the thing was, he was a person who actually went out and fought. And then one of his main students, William Chen, was the enforcer of that school. This is back in New York in the 1960s, and people would walk into the door and challenge people to a fight. William Chen was the enforcer. He was the one who took up the challenges and fought, and he would use Tai Chi to fight. William Chen's children, Tiffany and Max, I watched them fight in a full contact, basically kickboxing tournament, no grappling, but no ground fighting. But I watched them fight full contact, and they could use Tai Chi. It looked like Tai Chi when they were fighting. Wow. So yes, I think it can be done, but it's just a matter of how you train.
I actually asked because the place where I took Hung Gar, they also taught Tai Chi, and it was a different master because Buck Sam Kong did the Tiger Crane Hung Gar, and I met with the instructor of the Tai Chi, and he was like super fit, and I was like, I would love to learn this, because I hear you can age the art, you can be 60, and this is still good stuff, and I was like, is it useful now? He's like, well, let's spar, and I'll just speed it up. I was like, whoa, that's a great answer. But Tai Chi has always been very interesting to me. Any Chinese martial art just fascinates me because I love the tradition, and I've done so much. That's why, and I forgot I had some awesome news for me, not for anyone else. But I'm going back to college, community college, to study Japanese, and I have to have 2 courses, and I'm taking Judo Jiu-Jitsu Japanese traditional, which is really hard to find traditional Jiu-Jitsu, not Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah.
So I'm taking the traditional Japanese one, which is, I am going to just die. I love that stuff. Anything traditional. Sometimes, yeah. Also, beautiful. I think our fans want us to read.
It's been a couple of weeks since we read, no?
I know. We've just been yapping, just flapping gums.
Yes.
All right. So
Rebecca, this is a 5-gallon jug, and it's definitely not filled with vodka.
Lies. Lies.
All right, so let's get to the reading for the first time in 3 weeks now.
Andy, anything else you want to add before we do that?
Well, I was thinking about historical European martial arts.
Well, you took Korean, right? A Korean martial art.
Hapkido, yeah.
Yeah.
And that one bears a lot of similarity to judo.
Really?
Yeah. It's compared to it often.
And you did weaponry. Don't forget you did weaponry. You did sword training in Canada.
Oh, yeah. Well, I just took a couple of historical European martial arts classes. And that one's actually really interesting because it bears a lot of similarities to the Chinese. It's not as flowing. It's much more direct because you're dealing with people in heavy armor.
Interesting.
As opposed to the Oriental styles, which is not full-on plate mail. You've got the different kinds of armor. So it's a really interesting new approach to it. And I enjoyed it a lot. I do want to continue doing it. But it's
weaponry stuff is expensive, I find.
Yeah. It really is.
I feel like JC and I, every time we're, all 3 of us, anytime a martial art gets brought up, we're just rubbing our nipples like, yeah, let's talk about Krav Maga.
That's why I kept my camera. That's why I kept my camera below my nipple line because I've been rubbing them the whole time.
I know. Mine are gonna be dragging by the end of this episode.
Mine are like sticking out.
And on that note, we are moving on. John, don't encourage him.
Don't encourage me.
Lift him up to the level of intellectual awesomeness as opposed to stooping to his.
Stooping to mine. All right, so JC, you're the director of this. Why don't Whoa, we're moving in JC's.
Sorry, I was trying to get my daughter to come over and do some Wing Chun so you could see
Oh,
it.
sweet.
She's like,
Dude,
no way.
please.
She's like, doesn't want to do it at all.
Then you do it. Show us some
Do
Wing
it.
Chun, man.
Do it.
It's not interesting. She's yelling, peer pressure.
You can do
Wing Chun is
the.
not fun to watch by itself. You have to sort of see it with a partner.
Oh man, I thought. Well, I really enjoyed the form that I learned. You know, it's
Okay,
and then you move.
come here. Okay, she's eating something, but I'll break afterwards. We'll show it at the end if she's up for it.
You can tell, or she's grounded.
Yeah.
You hear that? You're grounded.
Ground her ass.
Okay.
All right. So we've got, how many characters are there in this bit, John? I know there's the narrator, obviously.
Well, I like to write in close narrative distance. So to
Okay.
me, the narrator is the point of view character.
Right, but there's the actual voice.
Right. So there's not a narrator voice. It is more
Okay.
like as if you're reading first person, but it's still third person.
All right.
And I actually don't remember I think I remember what scene I gave you, which has two of the main characters plus 3 bad guys, so to speak.
This is Avarax.
Oh, wait a minute. Okay, I thought I sent you another one.
Oh, okay. Then I'm looking at the wrong one.
I'm
This-
reading the one. T and
This
gritted
time's
is
on me.
So which one do we
No, we're
have?
gonna do the right one, the one that you sent afterward. I just gotta open it.
Oh, okay.
Did you send it in a document or did you email it in the email? Like
It
put
was in the
email?
body of the email.
Okay, that's the one I have then.
All right.
Hey, if you get a chance, go to Collier's Conquerors and look at the thumbnail for the big episode. It's me doing the 100 but backwards. It looks so sexual. When you don't laugh, you just make this awkward.
Great.
Did you see the thumbnail? Oh, thank you.
No, I didn't. I was just laughing for your.
That was realistic.
All right. So we've got Tian and Jie, right?
Tian and Jia. Mm-hmm.
Jie. Okay.
Yeah.
Stevie, you know what you need to do. Stevie always reads the women voices.
Okay, wait, which
Jia
one's
is
the
a
woman?
female. She's a female half elf,
Oh.
half Asian, and these are
Whoa.
both. She's been trained in the Black Lotus, basically like ninjutsu, let's say, and then
Oh,
Tian is a new
yeah.
recruit. So he's just coming into his own. And this is actually from my work in progress. I was looking for something that had martial arts in it, and this was the one that was freshest in my mind.
Very
Wait,
So
which
there might
one's
be
the girl?
typos, and it's not edited at all.
Jie.
Very good pronunciation, dude.
Jie.
You'll be
Okay.
speaking Chinese in no time.
That's awesome. I have the Japanese pronunciation. It's those hard I cannot deviate from that at all.
It's different, actually. Chinese and Japanese are very different languages. So
It's like
Okay.
Spanish. It's like Spanish and Portuguese. It's the super similar differences.
nope,
You
very
speak
different. My wife is Japanese, and I'm passably fluent in Japanese, and we met in Taiwan, so she's passably fluent in Chinese, and I'm in Mandarin, and so I can tell you the pronunciations are so different.
Well, that's what I mean. It's sort of like Spanish has the same pronunciations, and Portuguese has the much more varied
Oh,
ones.
okay.
Like, it's not just the five vowel sounds. There's all of them. There's a much broader range. So that's why.
We should get JC back to talk Asian languages, and then I will really have to change out my underwear. Already, I need a new pair. So don't get me started on Asian languages.
All right. Well, John, I'll read the narration. You read Tian, and Steve will read Jie.
Oh, I'm reading Tian. Oh crap!
Yeah.
Now that means I thought you guys were doing it. Now I have to find the darn file.
Oh,
Well, you got plenty of time. So
you have 1 minute.
Tian gritted his teeth, and not from where the steel orchid had cut his shoulder the day before. As if this place wasn't already out of his worst nightmares with the bad smell and rude people, there was also a murder on the loose. It was like they'd stepped into a foreign country, especially with all the pale-skinned workers. Of course, he'd seen important visitors like that at the imperial court, but never so many and never so ripe-smelling. Not only that, there appeared to be 2 distinct types. One group had heavier jowls, with the men sporting thick beards, while the others had finer features and thinner facial hair. Their style of clothing...
One's kind of like Stevie. One of them's like Andy.
You got finer facial hair, Stevie.
Thank you.
Their style of clothing was similar, yet varied in button placement and necklines. Even the intonation and inflection of words they exchanged in their harsh-sounding language differed in 2 distinct groups. Curiosity piqued at him. He had to know why. For now, though, he and Jia had to find a way to cross over to the other side. He wandered along the bank until he reached the edge of the marketplace. Here, hovels lined the trench, leaving only a narrow path formed by the stones of the spillway's lip. How awful it would be to live in one of those homes, so close to the sewage. He squinted into the afternoon shadows. Deeper in.
Yeah.
He pointed down to a wooden plank that cleared the poop line by a couple of feet.
Let's
Oh,
check
he's
it
10
out.
years old, so he uses words like poop instead of shit. Just pointing.
Oh, okay. Nice. Me too. Okay. Let's check it out.
She took the lead and followed the bank. 1 foot in front of the other, he tottered after her. When they reached the right spot, she looked down.
There are wooden boards nailed into the mortar between the pave stones. It's almost like stairs.
Tian gave it a dubious look. Maybe if someone had small elf feet, they were like stairs. For anyone else, they were a quick plunge into the sludge. She skimmed sideways down the slope to the plank, arms not even outstretched for balance. Gliding across the span with effortless grace, she looked back and beckoned.
It's easy.
Easy for her, maybe. He gulped and wedged a foot onto the wood board. It felt firm enough, so he crouched low and continued. 1 step, then 2. Wasn't that hard. His foot slipped on the next rung. Hands flailing, he teetered the rest of the way down and onto the plank. Balance thrown off, he fell. A hand clasped around his wrist, sending pain flaring in the stitches on his back and shoulder, but keeping him on the bridge. Heart thumping, he looked up to find Jie. She'd somehow run back across the plank and caught him.
Are you all right?
Yes?
No. If the trench didn't have a flat bottom, he might have sunk in over his head into the poop. Squeezing her hand, he followed her across. When they got to the other side, he bent over and grabbed the rungs as if they were a ladder and crawl climbed. 3/4 of the way up, he just about head-butted Jia's rear. She'd stopped and now held both hands up. He looked past to see 3 fair-skinned men in a third style of tunic at the top, pointing makeshift spears at them. One barked something in their language, his inflection different from the other 2 versions in the marketplace. Jia shook her head.
I don't speak your language.
I think he said he wants money.
Tian said. At least the man had spoken the word, used when money changed hands in the marketplace.
You have to pay the toll.
The man said in accented Hua.
That does not sound like accented Hua, just say.
Not even a little bit.
I don't even know what that is.
Why don't you say it, John?
Equivalent of Mandarin Chinese.
You do it then. I want to hear it.
你必须付这个钱了.
Nice!
Whoa!
Anyway,
New
that
underwear
was my-
stat.
that was just
One of his companions grinned.
Just a copper, much less than the fangs of red dragons charge. We don't have any money.
Jia motioned to the non-existent purse at her waist.
Then you'll have to keep pickpocketing in the fang's territory.
Third jabbed his spear in a threatening manner.
I need to bring some medicine to my sick aunt.
Jia said.
Please, let us up. I have a soft spot for sick aunts.
The second flashed a wolfish grin.
I'll let you up if you suck my cock.
The first leered.
Mine too. And mine third. Oh,
The third laughed.
this is crazy.
Scratching his head, Tian looked past them. There weren't any roosters around, and why they'd want their chickens sucked on didn't make much sense.
Oh, nice.
The second pointed his crotch. Oh.
Oh.
Tian cringed and squeezed his knees together. Why would anyone want that? It sounded painful. And poor Jia having to put her face so close to such a stinky place.
All right,
Jia held her hands.
help me up.
What? She was gonna do it? Tian reached to stop her, but without even looking, she batted his hand away. Grinning, the men lowered their spears. The second and third reached and took her hands, and screamed. Their eyes went wide as Jia twisted their wrists. She released the second, then used both her hands to crank the third's wrist. He flipped head over heels and tumbled down the slope and into the sewage. The splash would have hit Tian had he not leaned to the side, nearly thrown himself off balance in the process.
Why you?
The first leveled his spear and stabbed. Jia caught it and yanked, sending him flailing down the stones to join his companion in the muck. The third spear thrust out, but she turned her upper body out of the way, seized the shaft, and let him pull her back up. Spinning along the length of the haft, she caught hold of his hands and leveraged the spear so that the butt end dug into his wrist. He buckled to his knees, and with a shove, she sent him rolling down the slope. She'd overcome 3 armed men, all larger than her, in the blink of an eye. Tian could only gape as she lowered the butt end of the spear to him.
Take it.
He grasped it, and she dug in and helped pull him up. Again, his wound, so lovingly stitched by Yuna, pulled.
Hooch!
One of the men yelled. Tian looked down. The three stood there, shaking their fists. More importantly, they were waist-high in the poop, indicating a flat bottom to the trench and a total depth of 12 feet. An image of all the angles appeared in his head of their own accord.
Come on.
Jia skipped up the path back towards the marketplace on this side. That was awesome. It was so funny to hear it from the 10-year-old's perspective.
Yes, and I didn't realize
Dude,
how
I want
good
to hire you as my narrator. Boom.
I know. What about me? What about my amazing Chinese accents? They were gorgeous.
Andy, how about...
That was awesome. I couldn't help myself but laugh at a few parts.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
And we are...
Okay, it was funny because I heard it and like, okay, now I know what I need to edit because there are little mistakes here and there.
I know it always happens.
Always like that, yeah. Awesome. Well, Andy, did you have anything to add before we close this podcast out?
Well, I definitely wanted to thank all of our super awesome viewers and listeners and subscribers and visitors and other people who I cannot remember for staying with us for 100 episodes. This has been so much fun. I cannot believe that you guys have listened to us prattle on for 100 episodes and just had the time of our lives. So thank you guys so much. Stick around for tomorrow night, 101, because we had to postpone last week's episode to this week, so we've got another one tomorrow.
I'll be at the dentist too tomorrow, but I'm going to tough it out. I'm not looking forward to it. But yes, I too wanted to thank you guys so much for being with us. When Andy and I first started, we had no idea where this was going. And then the first year we got second place virtual or podcast of the year, and now we're first. So guys, thank you so much. I've made so many friends from doing this, and the podcast will continue, just less closed the more time it goes on. That's what I'm hoping anyway.
Can I share the cover of this book because of the one that you were just? Let me see if I can figure out how to do this.
You get the screen share on the side, yeah.
Can you see that?
No.
Oop. Right there.
Nope.
Still can't see it?
No, there's a little button on the side of the screen that says screen share. I don't know if you have it.
I clicked on it. Oh, wait. I didn't press the share.
Yeah, there you go.
Whoa, so many Pornhub apps.
What did we smoke? Okay.
White sheep of the family. Nicely done.
So they're a little older than they would be, because of marketing purposes. And the premise of the story is that she's very flat and not quite as built as that. And he is pudgier and younger, but oh well.
Very cool.
I feel like only you could write something like this. I feel like I'd have to be Asian to do something like this.
It'd be totally racist if you didn't. I'm just kidding.
No, yeah.
Cultural appropriation, Stevie.
Oh, yeah.
Would it count? Awesome. Would I be culturally appropriating if I wrote Japanese because I was born and raised in Japan, or would that still count as cultural appropriation?
I'll let you come to your own conclusions on that.
Would it be culture, whatever Andy said, if I wrote hillbilly stuff because I'm no longer hillbilly?
Probably, Stevie.
I kind of want like some family harem stuff.
Ooh. I'm pretty sure there would be some incest.
I stole that.
Family reverse harem urban fantasy.
Rural fantasy.
There you go. Excellent.
First you came up with that, but he demanded strict anonymity. But
yeah. And JC, where can people find you, man?
Here in my crib.
Yeah.
Appropriation as well. Where? You can find me on Facebook. Look up JC Kang. That's probably where I am the most.
And that's Kang too, by the
way. Kang.
Yes. And your website is JC Kang as well?
It's JC Kang. Actually, my website's all effed up, so don't go to it.
Okay, don't go there, guys.
Go to the Facebook page. It has everything.
Yes, his website has animal porn on it, which is illegal. I don't know if it's illegal.
Dude.
I'm sorry, that was just between us brothers.
You're gonna get me busted. Don't worry, it's in this password protected file, so I think I'm safe.
I've busted. Anyway.
John, I'm disappointed in you.
Because I didn't share the password with you, right?
No, because you're dropping to Stevie's level. You're catering to his badness.
Yes.
This is called code switching. You have to realize growing up as a minority in the South, you code switch. So if you're around people like Stevie, you become people like Stevie. So
wow.
You should be more like me, very intellectual and mature all the time.
Mature. That's the word I would
Mature.
use.
Yeah.
You go to the dictionary and look for a word for mature. It's going to be Andy.
All right.
So all right.
Take us
so
home, Steve.
I'll take you home, Andy. All right. So guys, thank you so much for sticking with us for 100 episodes. We love you all. Those great time, 100 episodes. We hope you have a great night. We'll see you tomorrow. JC, thank you so much, man, for being with us.
Thanks for having me. It was tons of fun.
All right, guys, have a great night. See you tomorrow.